Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Teena Jha, you're watching Perspective. India has taken the lead on the global stage when it comes to fast payments, and at the heart of this digital revolution is UPI. A recent note from the International Monetary Fund titled Growing Retail Digital Payments, the Value of Interoperability says India now makes faster payments than any other country in the world. The numbers speak for themselves. UPI processes over 18 billion transactions every month and has even overtaken Visa, clocking more than 650 million transactions daily compared to Visa's 639 million transactions. The IMF also points to a steady decline in the use of cash and traditional payment methods like debit and credit cards, all thanks to the growing preference for seamless, real-time digital payments. So on the show today, we are going to talk about the explosive growth of UPI since its launch in 2016, how it's outperforming global giants despite being present in just 7 countries, and why UPI is well on its way to becoming a global digital payments powerhouse. For this, we are joined by 3 distinguished guests. So let me begin the program by introducing them to you. I'm delighted to welcome in the studio Mr. Sanjay Saxena, former CFO NPCI. Mr. Saxena, thank you so much for joining us on Sansad TV. Welcome to the program. Joining us virtually is Mr. Sharad Sharma, co-founder iSPIRT Foundation. Dr. Sharma, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program. Also pleased to welcome Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee, cyber security and digital technology expert. Mr. Bhattacharjee, glad to have you with us on this broadcast as well. So let me begin the program with you, Mr. Saxena. India is now leading the world when it comes to fast payments, but when UPI was launched in 2016, and I'm asking you this because you've had a long journey with NPCI, when this UPI was being launched, even less than a decade ago, did you envision it becoming the world's fastest real-time digital payment system?
Yeah, thank you, Teena. See, at NPCI, when NPCI was formed, it was formed with a vision of expanding the retail payment system in India. That was the basic of the NPCI. And we at NPCI always thought of what is the way to go ahead, provide Indian solution for the Indian need, rather than adopting the ready-made solution and, and introduce here, I think that was the set in the core team which set up the NPCI initially. And I'll tell you, there's a very interesting story of how UPI emerged, in a thought process in 2014, 2015. We introduced our product which is called the IMPS somewhere in 2011, and that IMPS was again a instant mobile payment.
Right.
But for 2-3 years, it could never took off. I'll tell you, even when you used to have 10,000 transactions in a month and IMPS, there was an occasion of celebration at NPCI that we have achieved a milestone, Then the entire team and, the expert sit, in a room and say, what is a pain point? The pain point emerges that why can't we have a, the financial address as the Gmail address we have, as the, the email address we have, It should be as simple as this, Getting the IMPS transaction done, remembering 16-digit special MMID code was a real pain point. So UPI came as a process improvement of the pain point. What was the IMPS we were facing and trying in the past, and then the whole, and then again the basic tenets of UPI or any product we had at NPCI was, it should be a low cost, it should be secured, it should be scalable, and it should be basically the independent of vendor, any vendor independency, because even when I was in UIDI, the same things we have adopted. Tomorrow 1 billion people will have their UIDI and also Aadhaar number, how it is scalable, and we should be vendor independent. So these 4 basic principles we adopted, and then emerges the UPI. And then he said, see, it cannot be government driven, it cannot be it has to be reliable. It's a payment system, So a very unique combination of banks and the payment apps came. These payment apps are the innovator, which brings user experience. Banks, they are all coming through banks. So the system, I'll say, expanded in such a way that there is no cost to the end user. I would also add that there has been a ecosystem support by waiving of MDR on this, that also helped in adoption and taking it down to the last level. And last point, why it expanded so fast, the ecosystem has also improved. This Jan Dhan program, which came in 2016, everybody has the bank account, and then bank account linked with the UPI and all those things, means a very favorable ecosystem, a very good technology, a scalable technology, and a low cost. I think these were, and among of easy to use. These were the 4-5 things which I can remember, that those were the things. And lastly, I'll say, I still remember when UPI was 10,000 or 20,000 in a month. One of in our board meeting, one comment came that let's keep a target of 1 billion a day, and we were all aghast. 1 billion a day. And you just see, now it is possible, but at that point of time, the target was set that let's make our system so scalable that and reliable that it should be 1 billion a day. So this is how the UPI journey started.
Certainly, and it's been remarkable how there have been several factors that you just spoke about that have contributed to this extraordinary growth of UPI since 2016. Dr. Sharad Sharma, how significant is the IMF's recognition of UPI in shaping India's image as a fintech leader globally? We've spoken about transformation or how digital transformation has happened over the past decade. A couple of days back, you joined us on the program. Mr. Saxena has just listed some of the key drivers that have led us to this point where we are celebrating this significant milestone. But how significant is this recognition coming from a body like the IMF?
On an optimistic basis, we are about 7 to 8% of the world economy, 17% of the population, but we do more than 50% of the digital transactions. Absolutely. Not just commerce transactions, but also other tax transactions, DBT transactions. So I think the Indian digital journey is significant. There is undoubtedly the case. There is no other place where we have such kind of market share in any other area, right? Even IT services, our market share is 30%. There is no other area where we have this kind of mind share and market share. Now, the important point, however, is why do we have it, right? And what is behind UPI's success? Because drawing the light lessons is very important, because that is what is going to allow us to succeed. And as Sanjay pointed out, there are many unique elements to UPI. I'll remind people, many people have faced a 404 error when they browse the internet, but you would not have got a 402 error. And the reason is that there was a provision for a 402 error called micropayments failed, but it was never implemented for a variety of reasons. Some people speculate it is, one of the conspiracy theories is that the big payment players never allowed a micropayment network to come up. Right. So UPI was the first payment platform that was designed as a protocol. And if you remember, at that time, it wasn't as if IMPS was doing well or even credit cards were doing well. That wasn't really the competition. The competition was wallets were doing well. And in fact, during demonetization that followed soon after the launch of UPI, the real beneficiary was the Paytm wallet. So the displacement of the Paytm wallet or any wallet by UPI is the significant journey here. Right. Now, the question is, why is it that if I was to send you money using Paytm wallet, I was dealing only with Paytm on my end and you were dealing with Paytm on the other end? Yes. But if I send you a UPI money, I may be using bank, let's say I'm using SBI, you may be using ICICI Bank, and then I may be using one app, PhonePe, you may be using Bhim app, and then there is NPCI. So there are at least 5 parties involved. Why would a system that involves 5 parties outperform a system that involves 1 party? This is counterintuitive. And the reason that happens is because the protocol, the core kernel of UPI, the protocol that powers this is very, very well designed. And so that is really coming from the internet world, because protocol is what drives HTTP, session initiation protocol. We are doing this conversation using session initiation protocol. So protocols and internet are synonymous words. So UPI became the first payment system. So that's one reason that it was important. Second reason it is important is that on 13th of February 2015, where the then RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan announced UPI, his most important statement was, this is a payment system that is a public utility. But with a twist, public utility that is privately provisioned. Right? And think of it, there has never been in digital world this concept of privately provisioned public utilities. Now you have that for airports. The user fee in Bangalore airport is less than the user fee of Chennai airport. Although you would agree that Bangalore airport is a better experience than Chennai airport. And the difference is that both are public utilities, but one is privately run as in a license, and the other is run by the government. So instead of this being run by the government, you needed to have a business model that will draw in the phone pays, the beams, the just pays, and private parties into the mix in a way that had not been done with other payment systems at that time. Right. So even then or now, the payment systems that compete with us, which are Alipay, WeChat Pay, the two Chinese one, and Visa and MasterCard, they are private monopolies. They're toll collectors. They're not public utilities. They don't follow a protocol-centric model. And so therefore, we retain these advantages as we go forward. The last thing is, I'm speaking to you from a hotel room in Mumbai. As you know, I'm based in Bangalore. Imagine for a moment I took a flight from Bangalore, and I was hungry, and I bought something at the airport using UPI, and then reached Mumbai, and I used a taxi and paid for it by UPI. Now the question is, does NPCI know I have changed my location? Because NPCI has visibility to my transactions. The protocol that India has is so designed that the location and the merchant code is not visible to NPCI. NPCI plays an important but a small role of just being the settlement agent. And therefore, my privacy is preserved. This is very attractive as we start going to the global markets, because other payment systems are not like that. So this is one of those few areas where the underlying design, as Sanjay pointed out, is the distinctive element that has allowed us to succeed in India. And as Sanjay pointed out, even in Aadhaar, if Aadhaar had not given 40 rupees for every enrollment, Aadhaar would not have spread like it did. So India is such a large country, you have to draw in the private sector to get adoption. UPI was to do it and able to do it in a new way. So I think this is a celebration of design that allows us to be at this moment. That this is, we can hold our head high in the world of
certainly
payments.
Lots to celebrate about. There are several aspects about which you've spoken that make UPI different. In addition to being scalable, there is that security and privacy aspect as well. But Mr. Bhattacharjee, before I get your intervention on these two critical aspects, your first thoughts on UPI having overtaken Visa. Mr. Sharma spoke about the global giants. So this is a phenomenal achievement that I would like you to highlight about. How should we interpret this in terms of user trust and system robustness?
Thank you, Teena. I think this is a very proud moment for us. And, as I was hearing Mr. Saxena as well as Mr. Sharma speak, I was reminded of a conversation somewhere, I think in 2007 or 8, in the RBI headquarters, when the then Deputy Governor Vepa Kamesan and the ED R.B. Burman, who initially worked on a lot of the thought process about why you needed an NPCI and how it will, come and change the dynamics and all. And I was not getting it really inside, but I could see the excitement in Dr. Burman's face as he was explaining, and he was, of course, a statistician, but the whole payment settlement system on which both of them were working on I was so happy 2 days back when I saw this, that UPI had surpassed Visa, and I was in Singapore, and and I was just noticing that Singapore is one country where actually UPA works out of the 7 countries that are there. So I think it is a very proud moment for us, and it is also a moment of empowerment. If you look at it, both these gentlemen have touched on the very fine nuances with which we have built it up. It's secure, it's scalable, and it's something that we have shown to the world that we are able to do something like that, conceive it, build it up, run it successfully, and grow it. But most important, Tina, to note is the sense of empowerment that every citizen has almost got. Whether he is literate or whether he is illiterate, it doesn't matter. You have a huge bunch of citizens who became financially, digitally literate in such a short time, in such an spirit of acceptance and trusting the whole system to be able to not only help them in terms of their transactions, but also feel empowered themselves that they are not left behind and they have also moved ahead along with technology. So this is what I personally observe in all my travels across the country. When I see a tea garden laborer use it, when I see a vendor use it in somewhere in Arunachal or anywhere else, this is something that people like us who have worked with technology, I feel proud that this is what we have been able to give to this country. Now the question comes to your point about security, privacy, and I would say even how we have built up such a lovely scalable system. And as we have gone to the world to speak about the digital public infrastructure, which a lot of countries have accepted, the global south looks at it. It was one of the great stories around G20. I think what we have done is we have given confidence to the whole global community that a network of such scale can work successfully, can work in a secure manner, can be seamless to the end user, and yet at the back end you have all the processes in place, you have all the technology in place, you have all the algorithms and protocols in place to be able to run it smoothly. So I think this is a larger story that India has also given to the world and rightly put across through the G20 effort, and right now so many conversations are on. Apart from 7 countries that are running UPI, you are also having 3 countries like Peru and all who are actually partnering in building their own UPI-like infrastructure
Right.
with India. So I think there is a larger story that we have already told the world, and we have shown that both Aadhaar ecosystem you take and now you take this payment ecosystem, we have shown that how scalable systems and scalable system of such large scale can work, has worked, and it's moving ahead with technology. So I would think it's a very, very proud moment as a user citizen and of course for the larger part of
Coming back to you,
India's.
Mr. Saxena, before I start talking about UPI beyond borders, it's remarkable that UPI's presence is there only in a handful of countries, 7 to be precise. If we compare it to Visa, which is present in more than 200 countries, but we are celebrating this milestone of 650 million transactions a day. But how has the role of NPCI and regulatory backing all this while contributed to building UPI's resilience and trust, something which has led to this kind of exponential growth that we are discussing today?
Yeah, so Teena, as I explained earlier, in the NPCI, whenever we took a product, including the UPI, the core principle was, that it should be secured, low cost, affordable. See, you can have any system which is high cost and will not expand it. Right? Its adoption to the lowest level would still, we people in the Indian society are not ready to pay any transaction charges while making the payment. There's a fact.
Yes.
Right? And all of us see that which is free. So I would say that. For expansion of the UPI, what has helped exactly, the expansion of the ecosystem, right? The support of the government also, right? The government has in the initial years and even till now is supporting by waiving off the MDR, because see, all other payment system prescribe certain MDR, even if it is a wallet, it's an MDR driven, So the purpose of UPI is that even that the person who is sitting at the lowest one and selling a flower and vegetable, they should be able to accept it, right? So and the adoption would be when it is free of cost to them and it is secure and reliable to them. So that is the reason I think which UPI has expanded to the level which is now, and the card payment system or the other payment system, obviously they cannot afford to go to that level because there the economics doesn't work. That is one part. Second is the whole, as I said, the whole structure is open source. It's a innovation based, right? As Dr. Sharad has said, that there are the innovators new startups are there as innovators, banks are there. So it's a business model for everyone, but at the end, the customer is not paying anything. That's why there is a fast adoption of UPI to this level, even if when we are in 7 countries and all, as compared to the other payment players.
So I think that's where now the challenge is that perhaps there will be newer kind of innovations that will be expected. So we've set the tone in less than a decade, but more innovations perhaps expected in the next phase of UPI. So are we working on something like a voice-enabled payments, maybe credit to UPI, something which can perhaps be more helpful and more effective in our global outreach?
See, if I say the UPI in 2016, what was there, and the UPI now is totally different, right? So many additional feature, even the credit card is there. It's a UPI, prepayment is there. So there are many features have come in the UPI. So if I say UPI in 2016 was a simple payment use case. Now even the more use case have come up, and that's why the adoption is there. And there is a constant innovation there through wearable. Even if you see in the last global fintech in Mumbai, lot of features have been rolled out, and that is the reason the UPI fast adoption would be there.
We've already seen, Dr. Sharma, that despite UPI being present only in 7 countries, it's begun to make waves. There are more and more countries that want to be associated with this technology. But what is required on our part? What will be required in the days to come to make UPI a truly global payment standard? The IMF report says when you make a comparative analysis with Visa and with UPI, there are several key drivers which are, perhaps leading to this kind of growth, but at the same time there are certain things that we still need to work on, and then perhaps it will help us to harness the potential that UPI holds in becoming a truly global payment system.
Technology is like our mobile phone. You have 1G, 2G, 3G, nowadays there is 5G, right? And every time the new generation comes in, the power equations of the people who are running it change. In fact, as an incumbent, it is very hard to lead the next generation. And I think what has happened is that really we have to become conscious about this, that the same reason that Visa and MasterCard became complacent and WeChat and Alipay became complacent, and that gave us the scope and the opportunity to solve problems in a new way in India, there is a danger that we have become complacent. Let us keep in mind that today Brazil, which inspired by UPI, they took our protocol, they said it inspired by UPI, they improved upon it, and they are growing faster than UPI. Now they're at this point 30% smaller than UPI, but they are growing very rapidly. They're growing faster. They're in more countries than UPI. They are getting meta traction as they go forward. And Brazil, and why is that? Because actually they open sourced the protocol in late 2022, which we haven't officially done till now for UPI. So they created an institutional structure to co-opt everybody and say, bhai, hum sab milke chalenge isme. which we have done this for identity in MOSIP, but we haven't replicated this for UPI. So a complacency has set in, actually, and we are under investing in R&D. Here is NPCI making 1,000 crores, extra revenue, whatever, near profits. There's a non-profit, but not investing enough in R&D. So we love this. We can win penalty corners in hockey, but we don't convert them into goals. And I fear that this is actually happening to UPI. I'm sorry to kind of cast this idea on a day when we are celebrating, but we have to learn to be paranoid. In fact, the famous book, as my colleagues will say, Only the Paranoid Survive, was written by the CEO of Intel, and his successors, refused to follow the book, and Intel is now on the ropes, and may not even survive as a company 5 years from now. Look, this is a terrible, terrible competitive world, and we cannot rest on our laurels. So when it comes to inter-country payments, there is little or no doubt that the mind share today is owned by China through BRICS. You have to simply see what happened in the BRICS summit in Brazil to know that. So in the cross-border payments, China is dominating. In global adoption of a UPI-like protocol, PIX is dominating. And so we have to really wake up at this time. And if we don't, we would have been a leader of one generation, but not turned it into a competency that would allow us to lead subsequent generations as well. So
I think you're right. While we celebrate, it's important to take note of the hurdles and correct them.
It is very important to do that as we go forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what is going to give strength to our roadmap. Mr. Bhattacharjee, the vision, of course, is when in 2016, we've spoken to Mr. Saxena. When the UPI was launched, they did not anticipate this kind of growth. But look at the transformation and the adaptability and the change that UPI has brought about. Now, our hope is that UPI should become a global standard of payment, similar to something like a SWIFT, maybe. But for that, we have to take care of these hurdles that Dr. Sharma spoke about. What are your thoughts on what's holding back that vision? Is it private players? Is it geopolitics? Or is it technological hurdles that are coming in the way that we must identify in time, perhaps to set the tone for the next phase of UPI?
Yeah, it's a very important point to raise. I don't think that there are technological hurdles at this point of time. I think we have to harness the scope of technology as it mutates and allows possibilities further. Possibly, some of the next steps could be that you could use your something of a QR code to be able to pass through bus stations or rail stations, all of that stuff. But what is important is to realize that where is that space available for us to be able to take it to that scale to become the globally dominant payment systems. Now, if you see our approach was right, we looked at the global south, and that's where a large number of countries are there who have still not made the tryst with technology to that extent that we have done. So that is where we have to aggressively go and push, because there are the numbers, there will be the volumes, and that's where it grows further. But I think, on apart from the looking at the global south, there are other economies, the large economies also, with which we should be able to seamlessly integrate. For example, with France and Singapore or the UAE, we have done good work. I was just mentioning Singapore. I saw a lot of people very comfortable in using the UPI, particularly when you go to Saravana Bhavan or the Indian eateries and everything and all. So I think there is a scope to push it also further. Besides diplomacy, I think we have to make an effort to see that on the ground also we have some presence and all, and particularly I don't know if that becomes an NPCI role per se, but possibly they have to give the fillip and the thrust to see that it expands further. But what's most important is to see that in what future directions, we'll be able to go further so that the common man can still seamlessly use the system, without being bothered about security or anything at their end. The last mile should remain as simple as it has remained now. And with
Okay.
emerging technologies, where does this go to? This is again what has to be looked at. So there is
Certainly.
one.
Based on the suggestions, Mr. Saxena, that have been made from Mr. Bhattacharjee and Dr. Sharma, there is no doubt that the UPI growth story has been phenomenal. It's uniquely Indian. There are several drivers which have brought us to this stage of and significant milestone that we are celebrating today. But then there are also challenges that we must take into account. And for UPI to become globally relevant, the seamlessness and the ease that Mr. Bhattacharjee was talking about, we want the Indian tourists that when they go to many of these countries, in addition to France, Singapore, UAE, there should be more and more countries where Indian tourists should be able to make payments seamlessly. Because now our habit over the last 10 years is such that we don't carry our wallets. We have the mobile phone, and while we are running, while we are jogging, we suddenly recall we must buy fruits, and we do it with ease. That ease must extend even when we are traveling outside India. So how are we working on those aspects? How are we also tackling some of these challenges that have been highlighted?
Yeah. So, Teena, in fact, if you see, first I'll say how NPCI is doing it. NPCI has hived off its UPI into a separate company, which is NPCI International Payments, and which is totally focused on its new use cases and plus the expansion of the UPI.
Right.
So if you see, the NPCI, initially everything was under one umbrella. Now for bill payment, there is a separate company, there is a separate structure, governance, right? And this is because bill payment is also one of the big area which is being expanding fast. Then there is another company is being formed for app, which is a BHIM app, right? The BHIM app, if you remember, was launched at the time when UPI was there, but the more focus is now being put, and with a good UI interface and everything is there. So there is a separate company which is focusing, and a team which is focusing on the BHIM app now. And obviously this international payment, which is another company with a separate full-time team, and the CEO is there. So governance wise, there are the different businesses are parked in the different companies to expand it, right? That is one. Second, if you noticed in the recent past, this is a part of our soft diplomacy. Wherever our team goes, the PM goes, this becomes a very good instrument for the soft diplomacy, and especially when this Russia-Ukraine war, and then how the payment system and the whole Russia was made crippled, everything has now start thinking that you cannot dependent on the erstwhile payment system, because which is governed by a particular war. That is the reason, So that is where we are, as a NPCI, I can say is a very good support we are getting, expanding it. And as Dr. Sharad has said, he rightly pointed out, the challenges. I totally endorse him, because if you sit on any technology and say, no, we can rule it for years, that's not there, Obviously, you have to this. But the best part is we have always been a low cost, scalable and reliable, I think this is somebody else to replace would be difficult, but still, if it is there, we are there. So governance point, structure wise, and the support of as using it as a soft diplomacy, I think these are the things which will take to UPI to all next level.
Certainly. So with that, we'll have to wind up the conversation. It's been wonderful talking to all three veterans, experts in their domains, talking to us about the UPI's growth story, but at the same time, highlighting some of the challenges that we must take into account so as to make UPI more globally relevant. So thank you once again, Mr. Saxena, Dr. Sharma, Mr. Bhattacharjee, for joining us on the program and sharing your insights with us and our viewers. To your viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to like and share them.